Well, this is another one of these quote-unquote rolling restorations that we've done here at WFO. This is Andy's 78 Ford F-250 Ranger, and what a classic, cool, old school truck. Even though I'm not a Ford guy, but I can get into it with anything 79 or older. So this truck came to us. Andy's been in the middle restoring it for a couple of years now. And he wanted to do some suspension and axle specific work to it, steering and brakes. So that's what we did. We might as well start at the front because that's the best part of this truck. So if you look underneath here, that right there is the Elusive 78 and 79 only Ford Dana 60. So the difference on this one, why everybody wants it, is the leaf spring width on the 78 79s was 31.5 inches, just like a GM. And if you look over on that axle tube side, there's approximately 6 inches of tube sticking out because this is the 78 79. This truck was an F-250, and in 78 and 79, F-250s could come with the high pinion 44 with 3-inch half wall tubes, 8-lug dual piston calipers, which was still a great option, and that's what his truck came with. If you had the camper special or you special ordered it, you could get the higher GVW, and it would have come with this 78 Dana 60. This one had the 44. He brought it to us. It had push-pull steering, and we went ahead and located a 78 Dana 60, which is next to impossible, rebuilt it, and put it in the truck. So back underneath here, if you look, right on this side, you can see there's an actual leaf spring perch welded to the housing. And that's because somebody had already put a truss on it. We had to cut the original perch off and weld one on when we cut the truss off of it. So this has our Ford U-bolt flip kit on it, our spring plates, and then more importantly than everything, if you look right here at the steering box, notice the pitman arm is pointing straight back. So we changed it to crossover steering. We had to do a slight bend in the drag link here. Comes across, has our 1142 HDA Heavy Duty Adjustable crossover steering arm on top of the knuckle. And then we went ahead and did 1.5-inch quarter wall tie rod underneath, stabilizer tucked behind. Once again, the U-bolt flip kit. So if you look all the way along the bottom of the front axle housing, nothing is hanging down. Doesn't have those square plates that went underneath the housing to use square U-bolts. So crossover steering, and then you'll see up here in the frame there's kind of some new brackets and hangers and new leaf springs. So Andy brought us front and rear leaf springs for this thing. I don't know the exact part number of them, but these are it's approximately a 3 or 4 inch lift on this truck. These tires are 285 75 16s, so they're about a 34-inch tire on it. One of the cool things we did is you can see Bilstein shocks in here. So these are the Ford shock towers that we always sell that we shortened down a little bit and match the right side to the left side and put those shocks on, just kind of make it clean looking. The 78 normally had one on the front of the axle, one on the back of the axle, even in the front. While you're at this angle, you can see that front spring hanger that he brought us is kind of nice, welded bolts in there. And then the new bushing assembly and spring hanger in the back that he brought us. And these are Alcan springs, so they ride really nice in this truck actually. When we rebuild the Ford Dana 60s, we actually like to use these quarter turn worn hubs. Reason being, it's 2 fingers in and out all the time. They seem to never fail. Classic big hole like the Eagle 1079 style wheels on this thing to kind of go with this whole look of old school two-tone diamond plate. On the inside, like I said, rolling restoration. So that fake wood grain interior. He's got a really nice seat in here. He did have problems with the factory automatic column. So he went ahead and put the column in before we got here, and we kind of dialed that in with a new steering shaft underneath the hood. While I'm talking about underneath the hood, we'll go ahead and pop the hood. This is the one thing that you know, I'm not up to par on as far as Ford engines. So this is one of those Midland type engines, I believe. It might be like a 400M, but somebody will correct me on that. But as you can see right here, Borgeson steering shaft, U-joint to U-joint. You can see the aftermarket column has some linkage going down to the C6. But what we did do, and you'll see right here on the front of the engine, so that is a Saginaw P-Series steering pump that we put onto the Ford engine. And the plastic Ford power steering pumps always seem to be a problem. You can see fluid on the fender well right here. If they're not bled absolutely perfect, they burp fluid out, they whine all the time. So anytime we're working on one of these vintage Fords, we like to do the Saginaw pump upgrade. From there, you can do PSC, you can do remote reservoir, cooler, the sky's the limit. The rest underneath here is kind of just how it was in '78. A lot of smog bullshit on there, pardon my language. Something kind of cool, you can see the Firewall delete plate there. He's, I don't know if this was an AC truck or what, but he's got rid of that box and doing his own stuff. But, you know, kind of nice popping, closing the hood and having old school stuff. So as we move to the back of this truck, so this is a automatic C6 truck, and the 78, 79s had a married 205, as the 77 and olders had divorce. So if you look underneath here, you can see the 205 transfer case, and as you can see, we put our CV flange on there, went with a 1350 CV driveline. You roll to the back, we completely rebuilt the Dana 60 rear. The pinion is now directly in line with the drive shaft for no vibration. And then we also added Bilstein shocks in the back as well, and another set of Alcans in the rear. Now, the rear Alcans, when we put them in, we were still able to keep the factory blocks that come in these trucks for the bump pads and stuff. And it actually rides really nice in the back. We did a complete rebuild of the rear end, new drums, new wheel bearings, new e-brake shoes, all that stuff that takes a long time. So it's got the 60 in the rear, 60 in the front, fully rebuilt, 410 gears. Just a clean resto mod old Ford truck. And, you know, no overdrive, 410s, the 34-inch tires. It's at a really decent RPM going down the road. Seems to hold 65 easy and just make you feel like you're riding around with your grandpa. I mean, that interior screams 1978. It also screams choking down the motors and putting too much smog and all that junk on there, but we won't talk about that. So hopefully he'll keep going on this thing, get it finished up, but what a pleasure to work on, and there's nothing better than a 78, 79 Ford with that Snow Fighter high pinion Dana 60 in the front. All right, well, we thought we were done on this one, and you know, I can't leave well enough alone, and he had an extra week before he was coming to pick it up, so we went ahead and did another mod to the truck. So it's inherent when you do crossover steering on a leaf spring truck that when you turn right or left with the steering wheel, it flexes the axle to the right or left on the leaf spring bushings and the shackle bushings. So even with everything brand new leaf springs, brand new bushings, when you get it all done, you will feel in the steering like a little dead spot in the middle where the truck doesn't react when you turn the steering wheel, which isn't a big deal because the crossover is, you know, so positive steering anyway. But what it does do is when you're at a dead stop, pulling out of a parking lot, let's say you stop and you got to crank the tires right now, and then you got to crank the tires back, you'll hear the leaf springs and the suspension maybe pop to the right and pop to the left as you turn the wheel. Well, most factory leaf spring vehicles that were crossover steering, like some of the Fords in the 70s and 80s, they had a track bar. So what do we do on this one? We went ahead and added a track bar. We had an extra week, we had a couple hours of time, and Andrew got under there, built a track bar bracket to weld to the axle, and then welded an axle up onto the frame. So we'll get out up here, we'll take a look at it and show you what we did to make it even that much better. All right, so let's show you what we did. It starts right here in the wheel well. So as you can see, there's a little track bar bracket, and this actually has a poly bushing in it so that there's a little give in the track bar. So we weld that bracket to the bottom of the frame, side of the frame, we even tied it into the shock tower, and that's got our 4250 basically poly bushing in it. And it's basically trying to be in line with the drag length. So if you walk around to the front here, I'll get down on my knees on the rocks. So here's the drag link coming across. Now look up there in the back. You see from over here, track bar come down, has a bend in it to clear the motor. And then there's the track bar bracket that we added. That is actually our 10 and 12 inch Duramax Super Duty track bar bracket, but happened to be the perfect height. It's got an FK Heim on the lower end, the bushing at the top, adjustable at the Heim joint, and keeps that axle from moving side to side. So we turn the steering box, the tires turn exactly positive. Every movement of the wheel, you're turning the tires. This thing is responsive, drives dead straight, and does not have any popping or creaking when you're in a slow parking lot turning right to left. So totally dialed in, ready to roll.